So welcome back to another video, and I'm in the process of selling a few photography items that I no longer use. And as I started to sift through my drawers below my desk, I found quite a few photography accessories that were, well, just a complete waste of money, to be honest. So I thought I would share these with you today, so maybe you don't make the same mistakes that I did, and maybe hopefully it will help you save some money along the way. And I'm also going to recommend some products that I would purchase instead of these useless ones that, yeah, I wish I hadn't have bought. Anyway, some of these are quite embarrassing. So let's get on to the first one. So let's get on to the first thing on the list, which is this rather strange looking object called, let me get this right, the Urig ND Filtering Rapid Filter System RFS Quick Release Flip Bracket. What a ridiculous product name. Anyway, what's more ridiculous is the actual product itself. It's quite embarrassing. I can't believe I've actually bought this. So I got this before I had magnetic filters because I was looking for a way of being able to have the filter attached to the lens, but also have the option of removing it as and when required. And in principle, this is a great idea. You know, this end here attaches to the lens, you attach your filter to this end here, and then you flip it up when you don't want it and flip it down when you do want the filter. However, it's such a faff to change this to another lens or put another filter on here if you've got a different filter you want to use. It, yeah, just overcomplicated the whole procedure. I used it once and never used it again. So it's a complete waste of money, and yeah, I definitely wouldn't buy that. Right, on to the next one. So the next product I would not purchase is one of these. This is a lens pen. So this is just a generic one from Amazon. I think it costs about £5 from memory. Now, the idea of these is that you've got a brush on one end to wipe away the dust, and on the other end there's a felt pad which you can use to clean your lens. Now, in principle, again, this is quite a good idea. This one in particular has got loads and loads of different problems with it. Now, firstly, every time you use it, one of these bristles drops out, which is a right pain in the arse. And secondly, as you use this to wipe your filter, the grime and the grease transfers from the lens onto this felt pad, and then the next time you want to clean another lens, basically what you're doing is transferring that grime and grease back on to your lens that's already needs cleaning. So you're just transferring like muck around, basically. So this, again, is completely useless. So what would I buy instead? Well, I would get one of these, which is a rocket blower to blow the dust off your lens. And I'd also get a pack of these lens cloths like this, these ones from K&F. These are great. Just, yeah, keep them in a nice cellophane packet to keep them nice and clean. Use them a few times and either wash them or throw them away. So yeah, these are the two products I would recommend to keep your lenses dust-free and smear-free. So next up, while we're talking about lens cleaning, I bought these lens wipes to test them out, as they were about half the price of the regular ones that I buy. And I thought, you know, I'd try them out, give them a go, you know, might save a few quid, but sadly, no. Let me tell you, they absolutely stink. I'm not even gonna get these out of the wrapper. They smell highly toxic in my opinion. They're too wet and they leave a residue all over your lens. Yeah, don't buy these. These are made by company called Ali Beast, I think they are. I got them from Amazon, yeah, but definitely avoid these. They're not great for your camera gear. The ones I usually get are these ones down here. These come in a box of 200. These are from Zeiss. Very, very good. Pay a little bit more, but they do a very, very good job. And it doesn't melt your skin like these potentially would. Yeah, these are highly toxic, I think. So again, something to avoid. Before we get on to the next shocking photography purchase that I've made, I just want to mention that I'm in the middle of writing a new ebook all about light in the landscape and how I use it. And it's going to be absolutely free for my newsletter subscribers. So if you're interested in getting a free copy when it's out, be sure to sign up to my newsletter. The newsletter goes out every week on a Thursday, and I share some photography tips, a few insights, some latest news and things that are happening behind the scenes. The link is down in the video description if you fancy getting involved. Anyway, let's move on to the next bad photography purchase. So next is this, the variable ND filter. Now, if you're not familiar with ND filters, they block out an amount of light so you can control your shutter speed for creative effect, like the shot here. See how the water is all smoothed out? Well, for that shot I used 2 filters, a 10 stop and a 6 stop I think it was, to give me a 1 minute exposure time, which allowed me to capture this milky water effect. And that was shot during the middle part of the day, so it was particularly bright as well. Now with regular ND filters, it's one strength, like this one blocks out 10 stops of light and it's even throughout, which means the exposure is even throughout your photo as well. But with a variable ND filter like this one here, you have a range of strengths that you can achieve by rotating the outer thread like this. And as you can see, my exposure gets darker as I rotate the filter. And this one is set between 6 and 9 stops. Now, in theory, this is great because it means that you can be very selective about how much light that you want to stop. But in practice, they come with several drawbacks. And the big one that I'm going to mention here is that quite often you don't get an even exposure throughout the whole of your frame, especially if you're using a very, very wide focal length. In some cases, you'll get an X-shaped pattern with darker patches in the corners. And these tend to happen when you're at the extremes of the rotation on your filters. Now, I think it's fair to say that obviously all filters are different and they will vary in quality, but from my experience, and I've tried quite a few, I think variable NDs are better kept for videography, where generally the focal length is perhaps a little bit more tighter than, say, a landscape wide-angle shot. And as well, if things are moving around in the scene, like trees and stuff, it's less noticeable that you might have lighter or darker patches. Let me know in the comments if you use a variable ND filter for photography, and if you do, be sure to let me know which one you use and how it works out for you. Personally, for me though, I wouldn't recommend variable ND filters for photography. I would use the solid ND ones, like I'm going to be talking about a little bit later on in the video. So my next waste of money would be, in general, cheap quick release plates like this for your tripod. So if you're not familiar with these allow you to fit a universal Arcus Swiss plate to the bottom of your camera. Then you can quickly attach the plate to this quick release plate and clip it over like that and attach it to your tripod head. Now, this one here is from a brand called Andeur, and I bought 2 of these, and this is the one that didn't break. The other one I threw away some time ago. But yeah, I was clipping my camera onto the quick release. I pulled across the bracket or the handle, whatever you want to call it, the quick release mechanism. And yeah, it just fell to pieces. This piece fell off. Fortunately, I was holding on to my camera, so my camera didn't topple to the floor, because that would have been quite disastrous. So I would advise going for a high-end quick release plate, something that you can really trust, because at the end of the day, you know, you've got a lot of money, haven't you, sitting on top of one of these. And yeah, you really don't want to lose your camera just because of a cheap plate like this. Right. So waste of money number 6 is, I'm going to go back to filters actually, there's a bit of a common theme here, but are these rectangular modular filters, and in particular, the graduated filter. Now I used these for years before the magnetic circular filters came onto the market. And while these are great filters, they are not that practical for modern digital or landscape photography. So if you're not familiar with graduated filters, let me take it out. They allow you to darken a certain part of the photo, so it's darker at the top and it's clear at the bottom, which can help you control your exposure, meaning you can potentially take an image that has a larger dynamic range than your camera has. And this means you won't have to bracket your photos. Now, these are essential for film photography when you are sort of working within the constraints of your film's dynamic range. But for digital photography, I would say bracketing is probably a better option most of the time. The reason for this is that unless you've got a completely flat horizon, you're going to be darkening other things in your frame as well when you place the filter down across the image. So take this mountain shot. If I place a graduated filter over it down to the horizon, it's going to be making part of that mountain dark as well, which would mean I'd need to correct that in post-production. And if I'm going to do that, I might as well bracket the shot or just expose for the highlights and bring up my exposure in post-production. So I use these filters I've got 2 sets actually, Case and Nissi. Both are slightly different. These ones are push-on, you just push them onto a little holder on the front of your lens, and these ones are magnetic, they just clip on by magnets. So yeah, like I mentioned, I just bracket if I need to increase my dynamic range or expose for the highlights and just lift up the shadows in post-production. Keep it simple. The list of useless camera accessories goes on and on, doesn't it? So please Let me know if you've had any bad experiences or embarrassing purchases down in the comments. It's always great to help out other fellow photographers, help us all save some money. Anyway, if you're interested in landscape photography, you might find the video that's linked up here interesting. And the link over here will take you to my learning community, where you will find lots of resources like my editing masterclass and much more. Anyway, if you enjoyed this week's video, please be sure to hit the like button. Take care, and I hope to see you all again next week.